Hello friends, welcome to yet another video of Hindu Today. We will talk about curious case of Indian Navy's third aircraft carrier. With the military short of funds for modernizing its arsenal, India's most contentious and consequential weapons procurement debate is taking place over the Navy's proposal to build a second indigenous aircraft carrier, Indian Naval Ship INS Vishal. There are already two aircraft carriers, the Russian-built INS Vikramaditya, which joined the fleet in 2013, and INS Vikrant, which Cochin Shipyard Limited expects to make fully operational in 2022. INS Vishal, the third carrier, would allow the Navy to operate two carriers while allowing one to be in the dockyard for repair, overhaul, or upgrades. Given the military's modest capital budget of $16.5 billion for 2021, which is one-fourth of the total defense allocation of $65.8 billion, the Indian Air Force and the Army are opposing to committing a large chunk of money to a single naval procurement. Tri-Service Chief General Bipin Rawat has made it clear that he too does not regard a third carrier as a priority. What will be its effect on the Air Force and the Army? We have to see the impact of the third aircraft carrier, he said. For the IAF, a third aircraft carrier would leave less funding for its own big priority, a 15 billion to 20 billion plan to buy 114 medium fighters. The Army similarly wants the lion's share of the capital budget to be expanded on artillery, guns, tanks, rifles, and aviation assets, such as attack helicopters. The IAF argument is that fighter aircraft operating from well-protected shore base can support the Navy fleet better than a handful of fighters operating from a vulnerable carrier that the enemy would be targeting relentlessly. The air power lobby also argue that it would be rash to spend some ₹1 trillion on the massive 65,000 tons INS Vishal, with half that amount required for its aviation complement of 50 to 55 aircraft. Instead, that money would be better spent on more usable assets such as frigates and submarines. Top naval planners contest the notion of a ₹1 lakh crore carrier. INS Vikrant, the first indigenous carrier IC-1, will have a final cost of ₹19,800 crore. The Defence Ministry Cost Committee has fixed the cost of IC-2 at ₹40,000 crore, twice that of IC-1. That caters for the larger size of IC-2, which is 65,000 tons compared to the 40,000 tons IC-2. It also caters to the IC-2's more sophisticated and expensive weaponry and for inflation. Crucially, IC-2 does not need a new air wing. The Navy already has 45 MiG-29K KUB fighters, and the additional 57 carrier deck fighters currently under purchase will give the Navy enough fighters for 2 air wings. A third air wing is unnecessary since one of the 3 carriers is planned to be in refit at any given time. The Navy plans to buy the ₹40,000 crore cost of IC-2 over a decade, which averages to an annual payout of ₹4,000 crore. Of the Navy's current capital budget of ₹26,688 crore, 30% or ₹8,000 crore is available for new purchases. With the capital budget expected to rise by an annual 10%, naval planners are confident that they can afford the expense. The ₹40,000 crore projection for INS Vishal appears realistic when compared with that the UK paid to build 2 similar 65,000-ton conventionally powered carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales. Together, they cost £6.2 billion, or about £3.1 billion. The Navy, long at the forefront of indigenization, underlines the benefits of building INS Vishal in India. While the IF's acquisition of foreign aircraft mainly benefit foreign corporations, the Rs 40,000 crore payout on IAC-2 will go mainly to Indian medium, small and micro enterprises. For example, 2100 Indian MSMEs are working on Project 17A. The construction of 3 stealth frigates in Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, Kolkata. The admirals also rebut the IF's claim that it can provide the Navy adequate air support. India's military doctrine requires the Navy to project power far from our shores as the net security provider in the Indian Ocean. Establishing sea control far from one's shore, for example, of Africa's west coast or south of Indonesia, requires persistent air power which can remain in the target area. Even if IAF fighters operating from faraway shore bases manage to reach the target area, they lack the endurance to remain there for any length of time. In contrast, a carrier can keep its aircraft on deck and launch them at short notice when they are needed. There was some merit in IF's contention that smaller 40,000-ton carriers such as INS Vikramaditya and Vikrant, which embark barely 20 to 24 fighters along with 8 to 10 helicopters, are capable of generating only enough air power to protect themselves and their escort vessels, not to dominate large oceanic expanses. However, naval planners say that would certainly not be true of the Rs 65,000 tons INS Vishal, which would embark some 50 to 54 aircraft including fighters, electronic warfare aircraft, airborne command posts and anti-submarine helicopters, along with another 10-odd helicopters on the CBG's other warships. INS Vishal can both protect and dominate. Nor does the modern aircraft carrier need protection from a flotilla of escort vessels. INS Vishal's integral anti-submarine warfare ASW weaponry, including the newly contracted MH-60 Romeo helicopters, would handily detect and destroy enemy submarines, especially when networked with the long-range P-8I Poseidon aircraft. INS Vishal would also be armed with new generation long-range surface-to-air missiles LRSAM, which India and Israel are collaborating to upgrade to detect and destroy incoming anti-ship missiles at ranges out to 250 kilometers. INS Vishal's escort warships are needed less for protecting the carrier and more for enhancing the CBG's sea control capability. Given that these are multi-role destroyers and frigates capable of dealing with subsurface, surface and air threats, the flotilla will be able to also detach task forces for independent missions. The Navy believes there is no alternative to aircraft carriers if we wish to control the Indian Ocean. The US Navy describes its flat tops as 4.5 acres of sovereign and mobile American territory, which carry US military power to crisis spots worldwide. Former US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger described a carrier as 1 lakh tons of diplomacy. The Indian Navy is one of the world's few with 6 decades of experience in aircraft carrier operations. Many others such as Russia, China, Italy and Spain are either learning or forgetting the skills they once possessed. Emerging as a highly capable 3-carrier force would build on existing strengths, provide strategic heft to India's Act East policy and encourage the US, French and British navies to partner India in developing the operational doctrines and technologies that will be needed to counter an increasingly assertive China. Friends, hope you liked the video. Please subscribe us for more such videos. Thank you.